Coming up on this episode of Outlook TV. Sasha Velour's Smoke and Mirrors Tour.
Free to be fabulous.
Montreal Pride's Afro drag. And much, much more.
Welcome to Outlook TV. I'm Denise Fraser.
And I'm Robert McHugh. And spoiler alert, you're watching the Queer Magazine news show that brings you the stories that matter the most from coast to that other bloody coast.
And we're going to kick it off with...
Free to be fabulous. Speaking of spoiler alert, we just found out the queer community can be free to fabulous. It was a fundraiser for Rainbow Refugee.
We're at Free to Be Fabulous 3, a fundraiser for Rainbow Refugee. We've got drag, we've got silent auctions, 50-50. Let's go find out more about the event.
Don't count me out just yet.
It's the third year that we've put this event on. We're really excited for it this year. It's a really close cause to my heart because I was very close to being born in the Middle East, and I came to Canada a month before I was born. So it was could have been a very different life for me if I was born in the Middle East, so I just am very present to that, and I am aware of my privilege to live here in Canada. So I wanted to do something to help people around the world that don't have the same privilege.
Down, and they didn't even put up a fight.
We've seen a lot of Rainbow Refugee. What about the program do you like?
I just love that they're helping people around the world. And I also love that once people are getting to safety, they help them get assimilated and help them meet people and find work and find homes.
They're so close to finishing up with the person they're trying to bring over. They just need a little bit more. All of their tips they're going to get today are going to go towards that freedom circle.
Who are the performers you have lined up?
We have Jaylene Time, legend. We have Imperial Crown Princess Tommy. We have Imperial Crown Princess Made in China. We have the amazing Britney Spears. We have Cleo Media. We have the incredible Madame Lola. Who else? Berlin. Oh, this is going to be so good.
I am Iranian, and I've been struggling with my life for a long time, being closeted, being judged and scared, living in an environment that is really hostile and very dangerous because of religious reasons and the policies in Iran. LGBTQ people have a lot of difficulties, and the government basically has a rule: if you're gay, you get execution, or they force you to go through sex change surgery. Since day one I arrived here, I was like, how can we help others? And I made some friends here, through Facebook, and they were like, no, you need to calm down, focus on yourself. I was like, no, we have a lot of people to help. Let's get to it. So yeah, I created a circle, and I'm part of a circle sponsoring a refugee from Turkey.
Thank you all for coming out, supporting the event.
I feel a lot safer living in Canada now. This is Sister Fancy Pants and Miss Gay Vancouver 40 for Outlook TV.
Well, it's time for you to turn that frown upside down, Denise, because you know what you get?
A smile.
That's right. This next piece is covered by Ollie, and I heard it's a little number being released.
Ooh, by Hayden McHugh.
Ooh, let's check that out. Put the record on. They still have those, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's some songs that just can't get out of my head, and Smile by Hayden McHugh is just one of them. Hayden actually accepted to have a little kiki with me this afternoon to talk about the release of his latest single.
I didn't think it'd be this hard to go and try to let you down.
My newest single that I just released, produced by myself and assisted by my friend Thomas Lewis, and it's a fun, upbeat song, basically about leaving your, leaving somebody for greener pastures, basically, being like, screw off, I have somebody better who treats me way better than you ever will, so get out of my life.
The single cover I love it. It's so funny and comical.
It was my idea. I basically wanted to demonstrate clearly the feeling of the song on the cover, basically. I really wanted to make it obvious that that the song was basically about choosing someone over someone else. And previously in the past, I've not done a lot of sort of queer themed sort of stuff, and I really wanted to sort of pay homage to the fact that this was like sort of a truly sort of queer orientated song, I would say.
Oh, you say the best I've ever had. I won't be bad. You drive me mad.
I really wanted to demonstrate the feeling that is the good feeling that it comes from you know, leaving somebody who doesn't make you feel good about yourself. It doesn't always feel great in the moment, but you know that it's sort of a long-term goodness, I guess. You'll feel good long-term.
I got the blues. I got you singing. Ooh, I don't know what.
So you talk about having the blues.
It's about having the blues because this other person thought that they had you. They thought that you were, you know, gonna come back around no matter what. And finally, you've kind of got that sort of sense of confidence and said, no, I won't stay.
Motivates you to be so open about your sexuality?
I just think it's never really been an option. I just think that for me as a kid, I was pretty flamboyant and I was pretty out there. And so it wasn't really ever a choice for me, I would say. I think that my like conscious choice to be like actively queer in the public space, because I know that when I was a kid, it was always like guessing, but now there's really no excuse at this point. I have a family and everything who supports me, and I want to demonstrate for those people who might not have that, that it's okay. Yeah, there's no guessing. It's very queer, and that's it.
Oh, he loves to make me smile.
And Smile by Hayden McHugh is available on all streaming platforms and online music stores. For Outlook TV, this is Ollie in Vancouver.
We're going to have to take a little break right now.
Denise is going to show me her DJ skills.
Wakey, wakey.
That's how you do it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sasha Velour, and you're watching Outlook TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
I hope you have some rose petals stored under that wig, Denise, because our own Angus had a very special interview.
Sasha Velour's Smoke and Mirrors tour.
Out in Vancouver, the Drag Race Hall of Fame star was in town.
Sasha Velour's in town for the Vancouver stop on her 27-city Smoke and Mirrors tour. We're going to go backstage and find out what it's all about.
Big fan. I'd maybe even say she's my favorite. And we get to meet her tonight, which is very exciting. And yeah, I followed her work since before the show, so very excited.
So tonight I'm wearing House Zook from his most recent collection, all inspired by animal skulls. So tonight I am wearing this stag.
I love what she stands for, just being different and like fashion icon and standing out for like marginalized people everywhere. I think she uses her voice to create actual change.
I think Sasha brings a evolution to drag. She is unique, she brings diversity, she brings local drag together, she brings them to her show, which I think is absolutely amazing.
My breath is taken away every time I see her perform. I've just been such a fan since RuPaul's Drag Race, and I'm so happy to be here in the flesh, and I finally met her, and she's so amazing.
The tour bus is very interesting. I mean, I love it. I mean, I can't imagine, I think about the Drag Race tours where there's 10 queens to a bus. You know, we have one queen and 10 of us, well, we're all queens too.
It is 13 different lip-syncing performances, and each of them has a little moment of surprise and magic, but altogether they kind of trace out a really personal look behind the scenes. And I love always doing that through fantasy, through melodrama. That's the way I feel I can be most honest with people, is by being extremely over the top. And I think that's what Smoke and Mirrors is all about. I know that drag artists don't always have the resources to come out and see theater events. I know I didn't when I was working in New York City. So I thought, I'm gonna give them the best seats on the house as just a little gift. And that way, you know, selfishly, I love getting to have drag artists in the audience because they know how to respond to drag. They show everyone else how to scream, how to get up, how to be quiet at the right moments. And then I look out and I see beautiful made up faces, which is how I like the world to look. Drag fills me with optimism because we are trying to find solutions to a certain extent. It's like we organize ourselves in a small way to raise money for people in need, to create a platform for people who don't feel like they have adequate representation or an adequate voice in society. And we're determined to change the world, even if just for a night. And I think that kind of hope in the future is sometimes a little hard to find, and people turn to us for that.
For Outlook TV, this is Angus Pratt at Sasha Velour's Smoke and Mirrors tour at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre in Vancouver.
I am ready to clutch my pearls, Denise, because my very own queer Prov put on a Snatch game and Emily had the story.
Ooh, that's so exciting. I wish I was there.
Oh, I couldn't even be there, but I'm so glad to see this next segment because it's got all of the highlights. We're talking African dancing, we're talking improv, we're talking drag queens. Are you ready for some Snatch?
Snatch it.
What do you get when a bunch of queer people walk into a bar and start impersonating famous people? One hell of a show for one heck of a cause. Queer Prov does the Snatch game here at the Junction in Vancouver.
I said that they would turn the Batcave into my caucus because it's 2015.
At the Junction, our beautiful host, we have a Snatch game, a Queer Prov fundraiser. And what we're doing is we're raising funds for an amazing newcomer to Canada, a refugee who flew from sexual persecution from Uganda. And he's been here now. As of today is his 1-month anniversary.
How are you standing here today?
I'm standing here today as one of the beneficiaries from Rainbow Refugee.
What do you feel about the queer community here in Vancouver?
I feel safe. I feel good. Yeah, I feel good. It's not just like in Africa, yeah?
When I came out as pansexual, Queer Prov was my family and allowed me to do that. Our mandate is to go out into the community and support everyone in our community.
Now, what she does is she turns back time to a time when we just had mama's milk and no one was lactose tolerant.
All the money that we earn, percentages of that, goes to our nonprofit organization to support different people. Last year for Pride, we supported a Rainbow Circle and we made almost $3,000. And then tonight we're doing another refugee. So every single year for the last 3 years, we've supported a Rainbow Refugee Circle. And we feel like it's super important because we want to help the community. And we were blessed by being part of this group.
Walk like a girl, and I was like, yes, I do. It means a lot for me to be in this group, and especially here tonight, because I can be, myself on the stage. I can be different characters, any gender, any sexuality, and so, again, it's so important and so powerful that I can be myself. We can all be ourselves in this space.
I thought she's so addicted to social media that even her Twitter account has a Twitter account.
It's the Snatch game. I'm playing Sean Connery tonight. I've come out of retirement just for this, Emily. And Emily Fraser, isn't it? It's a very good Scottish name, so I'm happy you're here, dear.
So I am the Stage Kitten raffle girl, so if you spend enough money, then you get to come up and you get to pop one of the balloons. Any balloon you choose.
Another quality comedy event put on by Queer Prov. I expected nothing less myself. I'm Emily Ann Fraser. You're watching Outlook TV Vancouver.
We'll throw to a lovely event in Calgary that happened during Pride.
The Rise event had an angel in attendance. Ruth Burks was there, who was an angel during the epidemic of AIDS in the 1980s. Let's check it out.
Recognized for activism in support of AIDS victims during the peak of the crisis in the 80s, she was often the only caregiver for victims and buried many herself in her family's private cemetery in Arkansas. Welcome, Ruth Burks.
I noticed that there was a door down the hallways that had a bag, a red bag, the color of this dress, and no one was going in it. And his food tray, I'd never seen styrofoam food trays, so they were lining up down the hall like they were going to feed a dog. I went in that room, and I don't know why I went in that room. I feel like that God asked me or told me or gave me a choice to go in that room or not. But I did, and I walked in, And the young man was so skeletal and so frail that you really couldn't tell him from the bed sheets in the room. And I walked up to the bed and I took his hand and, you know, I was rubbing his arm and I knew that it was that gay disease, and that's all anybody, it wasn't even called GRID yet. You know, asked him if there was anything I could do for him, and I just couldn't imagine why somebody wasn't going in there, and he said he wanted his mother. And I thought, well, I can do that, that's easy to do. So I started to pick up their phone, and I couldn't use their phone. So I thought, all right, and I just kept saying the number over and over in my head until I got to the payphone down the hall, and I called her and she promptly hung up on me. So I knew I had the right number. And this was before caller ID, so I called her back and she answered, and I said, if you hang up on me, I will put your son's obituary in the hometown newspaper and I'll list his cause of death. Oh. I had a complete attention. So I told her, you know, what was going on, that he was near death and he wanted to see her. And she said, my son died years ago, and I don't know what that thing is you have up there, but it's not mine. And hung up on me. Oh, she said, don't call back, even when it dies. And so, you know, it knocked the wind out of me. So I went back in, I thought, what am I going to tell this young man who only wants to see his mother before he dies? And I walked in and I took his hand and I was rubbing his arm and he looked up at me and he said, oh Mama, I knew you'd come. And so I didn't know what to say. And I told him, I said, I'll be right back, honey, I'll be right back. And I ran down to Bonnie's room and I said, you know, I've got this situation and he thinks I'm his mother and I don't know what to tell him or what to do. And she said, I don't need your help right now. He does. So I went back and I stayed with him for 13 hours until he drew his last breath. And so I took Jimmy and I took a pickaxe and I took post hole diggers and my daughter, and she had a little bucket and a little shovel. And we dug the grave for Jimmy. And I buried him on top of my daddy because I didn't want to lose him and I didn't want somebody to come and dig him up. Because I was afraid if anybody found out that I had buried what was, you know, soon to be known as AIDS, that they would, you know, destroy the cemetery. And so we had a little do-it-yourself funeral, and that was it. And then I came out of the closet, so to speak, that I was taking care of AIDS patients, and y'all come. And the hospital had already started giving out my number. And it's like, here's this crazy woman in Hot Springs who's not afraid of you, go to her. They kept coming and coming, and I buried over 40 in my family cemetery, because their mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters did not want their bodies to even claim them to bury them. And the Journal of American Medical Association in 2014, after an article came out about me, they said, you know, all the technology we have and all of everything, who would have thought that love and a human touch was all it would take for somebody to live longer.
It's time for us to take a little break now.
I'm gonna have to apply an anti-aging filter on all these lights because, well, look at this. Denise.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
Out in Vancouver, in our next segment, we have the queer community yet again battling for a crown.
Queer Film Festival has Best of Fest.
Let's see what the cream of the crop managed to bring to the screen.
The Vancouver Queer Film Festival is screening the Best of the Fest at Cinematique in Vancouver. Let's find out more.
We have a screening of the Best of the Fest films from the Vancouver Queer Film Festival. This is the first time we've done this screening. When people come to the festival, because we don't often have repeat screenings, folks often want to see what they missed, and so this was an opportunity for people to get to see films that were popular at the festival, so popular that they were Audience Choice Award winners, in fact. They get to see those films again, and it's also a nice way for us to close the year and celebrate the programming that we did in 2019.
The moment Kendall said "Made in China," I just fell to the ground. I was like, it's happening. It has to happen.
Actually on the ground.
So all the films that we're going to see today are our award-winning films at the festival. So we have 3 different awards at the festival. 2 of the films are our Out TV Go People's Choice Award winners. One is a short film called She's Not a Boy, and the other is a web series that won our feature film Audience Choice Award called The Tea. And we also have screening today Yellow Peril Queer Destiny, which is the winner of our juried award for Best Short Film in BC. The Tea is a web series from Daniel Curie and B. Cordelia. B. Cordelia plays a recently transitioned trans woman, and Daniel Curie is her best friend and former lover, who is a gay black man.
Community, and to surround myself with a loving community.
She's Not a Boy follows an intersex woman from Zimbabwe named Tatenda, who leaves her home country, immigrates to New York, and she does a lot of activism around what it's like to be a queer refugee in America.
So our film is Yellow Peril Queer Destiny, and it's a film that explores the nuances of queer Asian culture in Vancouver. And it follows the story of Made in China, who's a dear friend and a local drag artist in Vancouver.
One of the kind of our experiments this year with this film is actually dividing the film into 5 chapters, which corresponds to the Chinese 5 elements. Wood, which leads into fire, which leads into earth, and then leads into metal, and then water.
For Outlook TV, this is Gary Wolfader in Vancouver.
Off to Montreal we go.
Out there during their Pride, they had Afro drag, which goes to show that our rainbow has multiple colors to show off.
So many drag artists of color.
Ooh, Ollie's got the story.
Big Sissy thought there was not enough representation of black drag queens on the Montreal scene, so she created an event called Afro Drag. And Afro Drag is presenting a first show here tonight at Montreal Pride.
Black Star Planet.
Afro Drag basically just developed because I've been doing drag for several years in Montreal, and I was always the only black performer on the bill. So it made me wonder, why isn't my community in these spaces? Do they not feel comfortable? Like, where are they? And I wanted to create a safe space for people to start exploring drag within the black community. So we've got like burlesque inspired drag, we've got king drag, we've got live music drag, which is what I do. In the past, we've had like spoken word. It's very creative. We've got androgynous performers. It's very open to interpretation. Big Sissy developed really out of the songs that I was writing that I didn't have an outlet for with my solo project, Ms. Holmes. And so the songs were all had little stories to them, and I ended up developing this character so that she could tell the stories of these songs. And Big Sissy is a witch from Black Star Planet, and she's stuck on Earth, which she's not very happy about, but she entertains herself with sex and food mostly while she's here. Our burlesque performer is Chameleon, who is actually based in Toronto. We've got Noka Palm Trees, who's a local Montreal performer who did their debut through Afro Drag in February. And we've got Trey Thongs, who's our king performer, and Kiara, who is an amazing, very fishy queen who's really popular in the village. She does a lot of shows, and this is the first time I get to work with her.
I feel like it's important for us to really celebrate our culture and to reunite, because we kind of have the same experiences. We not only are we queer, but we're people of color, so you know, challenges are coming to us every day, and it's nice to feel like we belong to a community and to feel strong in that community and to feel like we're empowered.
From Espace Casino de Montréal, this is Ollie for Outlook TV.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode of Outlook TV. Join us soon, we'll be back.
We will be back. You know what's always back all the time? The internet. So you can join us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Hi5, Friendster, Grindr, Scruff. I'm running out of references, but you get the idea. And if you want to volunteer with us, just shoot us an email at Outlook TV.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Denise Fraser.
And I'm Robert Mackay.
Stay fabulous, Canada.